Have you ever felt her lean in, laugh a little too long, find any excuse to brush your arm and still you froze? Still you second-guessed yourself? And then she drifted. And you replayed that moment for days wondering what went wrong. I'm here to tell you, nothing went wrong with you. You just weren't taught to see what was right in front of you. I'm here, and this is the Gentle Mind, where we uncover the real psychology that creates desire. And I'll warn you now, the final trigger I'm going to share is incredibly powerful. It changes everything fast, and almost no one uses it correctly. Stay with me until the end. Let's start with the truth most men never hear. She wasn't testing you to be cruel, she was signaling. Her body was broadcasting something ancient, something biological, something that predates language itself. And you, through zero fault of your own, simply didn't have the decoder. That moment, her fingers on your forearm, her laughter at something you barely said, her finding a reason to stand 2 inches closer than the conversation required, that was a green light. But nobody ever handed you the manual. So you waited. You calculated. You played it safe. And safe, in the language of desire, sounds like silence. This was never your fault. Nobody taught you this. The school system taught you algebra. Your father maybe taught you how to shake a hand. But the invisible language of attraction, the subconscious signals, the biological shortcuts, the ancient patterns women are literally wired to respond to, that was left to chance, to guesswork, to watching other men and wondering what they had that you didn't. They didn't have more. They just had a map you were never given. Once you see the hidden signals, you stop chasing. You become the man women want to win over. Let me show you how. Here's what's actually happening under the surface. Your brain and her brain are running ancient software. I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean it literally. The part of her brain that evaluates a man's attractiveness operates primarily in the limbic system. It's pre-verbal, it's fast, and it operates below conscious thought. She is not sitting across from you doing a spreadsheet analysis. She is feeling. She is scanning. She is responding to cues that evolution hardwired over hundreds of thousands of years. When she tilts her head, mirrors your posture, or laughs before the punchline even lands, that's her nervous system talking. That's biology. And here's the beautiful part. Once you understand what those cues are, and once you understand the corresponding behaviors that her system is designed to respond to, you're not manipulating anything. You're simply speaking her language. Real tools, not tricks. Use them with respect. Her subconscious is looking for a small collection of signals that say, this man is worth investing in. This man is safe but not predictable. This man is present but not desperate. This man is strong but not cold. Your brain and her brain are running ancient software. I'm just going to teach you the cheat codes. There are 7 signals, and the first one changes how you walk into a room. Masculine presence. Grounded energy, not looks, not height. Here's the psychology. Women are not primarily attracted to physical features the way most men assume. Research consistently shows that how a man inhabits space, his posture, his tempo, his stillness, registers in a woman's limbic system before she has consciously evaluated anything else. Presence is felt before it is seen. Picture this. You walk into a room, not rushing, not scanning the room anxiously hoping someone notices you. You arrive. You take a breath. Your shoulders settle. You look around like a man surveying something that belongs to him, not because you're arrogant, but because you are at home in yourself. That energy, that groundedness, reads as security. Her nervous system registers it as, this man is not afraid. This man is safe and strong. The man who is always checking if people are watching him has already lost the room. The man who doesn't need to check has already won it. Now slow down for a second, because this first trigger catches a lot of men off guard. They hear presence and they think performance. They start trying to look calm, manufacturing stillness like a bad actor playing a soldier. That's not it. Presence isn't performed, it's practiced. It comes from having something inside you that you're not willing to abandon for anyone's approval. A value, a direction, a reason you're here that exists independent of how anyone is receiving you. That's what she feels. She feels that you're not auditioning. The man who understands presence never has to announce himself. But there's a second signal, even more invisible. Most men ignore it completely. Emotional challenge, playful tease, polarity, not rudeness. The psychology here is simple but profound. The human brain, her brain, releases dopamine in response to uncertainty. Not cruelty, not games, not disappearing without explanation, but genuine, warm, playful unpredictability. When a woman cannot fully predict your next response, when you're not just nodding and agreeing and validating everything she says, her emotional brain pays closer attention. You become interesting. Here's the everyday version of this. She's telling you about a place she likes, expecting agreement, and instead of saying, "Oh yeah, totally," you smile slightly and say, "I don't know. I feel like you're someone who always picks the place with the nicest Instagram lighting, not the best food." Delivered warm, with a smirk, with zero aggression. Watch what happens. She laughs. She leans in. She says something like, "That is so not true," and now she's trying to convince you. Now you have her energy moving toward you. That small moment of friction creates polarity. Polarity creates attraction. And here is where I need you to really hear something. This is not about being difficult. It's not about making her feel bad. Real tools, not tricks. Use them with respect. The tease only works when it comes from warmth. When she can feel that you like her, that you're having fun, that you're not trying to wound her. Just keep her honest and keep her engaged. That distinction is everything. A man who challenges her from a place of warmth becomes compelling. A man who does it from a place of insecurity becomes exhausting. You're not here to exhaust anyone. You're here to fascinate. But emotional challenge alone isn't enough, because the third signal is about something she's tracking even when you don't think she is. Selective attention, having a full life. Making your attention feel like something worth earning. The psychology is this. In a world where attention is cheap, where men will text back in 3 seconds, double text in 4, and rearrange their weekend for a woman they met twice, the man who has real things happening in his life is rare. And rare things feel valuable. This is not calculation. It's just truth. She can feel whether your attention is scarce or infinite. She can feel whether you rearranged your day for her or fit her into a day that already mattered. And these feelings, however subtle, wire directly into how much she values what you offer. Think about this. You have a hobby that genuinely lights you up. A project, a physical practice, friends you actually invest in. And when she asks what you're doing this weekend, instead of immediately checking if she's free and restructuring your plans around the answer, you tell her the truth. I've got a long run Saturday morning I'm not skipping. And Saturday night I'm catching up with a friend I haven't seen in months. But Sunday afternoon is mine if you want to do something. That response is not playing hard to get. It is hard to get. Because you're real, because you have a life that has nothing to do with her and everything to do with who you are. That's the signal she's reading, not your words. your life. If this is making sense so far, hit subscribe and join the Gentle Mind community. It helps more men learn what they were never taught. Now here's where something interesting shifts. Because the fourth signal is not about what you say or do. It's about how carefully you pay attention. Intentional listening. Recall the small things. Emotional seeing. Most men think listening means not talking. It doesn't. Real listening means collecting. It means when she mentioned 3 weeks ago that she gets nervous before she sees her mother. You remember that. When she comes back from that visit, you ask, "How was it with your mom? You seemed like you were dreading it." That moment, that single recalled detail, does something neurologically that physical attraction cannot replicate. It triggers oxytocin. It signals safety. It communicates, "I see you." Not the performance version of you, not the curated version, the real version. Women are surrounded by men who nod and wait for their turn to speak. The man who genuinely listens and then proves it, days later, weeks later, does not feel like just another option. He feels like a rarity. And here's the thing about the man who listens like that. He doesn't have to try to seem caring. He just is caring. And she feels the difference immediately. This isn't a technique. It's a character upgrade. There's a level of intimacy that most men avoid because they think it makes them look weak. The fifth signal is about exactly that. And getting it exactly right. Calibrated vulnerability. Share real things. Don't play the victim. The psychology here is subtle and important. Women are attracted to emotional honesty. But there is a spectrum here, and both ends of it kill attraction. The man who shares nothing, who deflects every personal question with a joke or a deflection, feels closed off, unknowable, safe to admire but impossible to truly connect with. On the other end, the man who unloads his emotional catalog on the second date, every fear, every wound, every way the world has wronged him, creates a different kind of repulsion. Not because emotion is bad, because the volume and timing are wrong. Calibrated vulnerability sounds like this. She asks about your family. Instead of, "Oh, we're fine, totally normal," you pause and say something real. "My dad and I are in a better place than we used to be. There was a stretch of a few years that was hard. But I think we both grew up a bit." That's it. One true thing, offered with calm.
No drowning in it.
No performing pain for sympathy. Just a window into a real person. She doesn't need your whole story on night one. She needs to know there is a story. That behind the composure, there's a man who has actually lived something. Listen. That distinction, calibrated versus unfiltered, is the difference between strength and collapse. You're not hiding. You're revealing yourself like a man who knows his own value, on your terms, at your pace. Real tools, not tricks. Use them with respect. Now we get to the one that terrifies most men the most, not because it's dangerous, because it requires courage. Gradual physical touch. Light, respectful. An oxytocin bridge. Oxytocin, sometimes called the bonding hormone, is released through physical touch, not sexual touch, not aggressive touch. Small, appropriate, intentional contact that accumulates over time and builds a biochemical sense of closeness. Here's the scenario. You're sitting across from her and she says something funny. You reach across, tap her forearm once, lightly, and then your hand returns to your side. You didn't linger. You didn't grab. You acknowledge the moment with your whole body. A few minutes later, as you're both walking somewhere, you place a brief hand on the small of her back as you guide her through a doorway. Natural, momentary, respectful. These are not advances, they're bridges. Each one says, I'm here, I'm present. I'm not afraid of closeness, and I'm not rushing past it either. And this is where I want to be very direct with you. Physical touch is only appropriate when the context welcomes it. When she's engaged, when she's leaning in, when the conversation is warm. You read the room, you read her. You never override her comfort for your own agenda. Touch is a language. Learn it the way you'd learn any language. Slowly, carefully, with deep respect for the person you're speaking to. The man who touches with intention and restraint becomes someone she thinks about when he's not around. And then there's the final trigger. The one I warned you about at the beginning. The one that almost no one gets right. Controlled unpredictability. Dopamine from rewarding uncertainty. Here is the neuroscience. Dopamine, the brain's reward and motivation chemical, is not triggered most powerfully by reward itself. It's triggered by the anticipation of reward. This is why slot machines are more addictive than guaranteed payouts. This is why the almost win is more powerful than the win. Variable reward schedules create compulsive attention. Now, applied ethically to attraction. The man who is perfectly predictable, who texts at the same time, responds identically, is always available, always agreeable, trains her nervous system to stop paying attention. There's no dopamine spike because there's no uncertainty. He's safe in a way that feels inert. The man with controlled unpredictability, who sometimes responds quickly, sometimes is genuinely occupied, who occasionally surprises her with something unexpected, who has moods and interests and directions she hasn't fully mapped yet, that man keeps her nervous system engaged. Her brain keeps returning to him the way it would to an interesting book she hasn't finished. And here is the critical ethical line. The unpredictability must come from a life that's actually full, not from manufactured games, not from intentional withdrawal to cause anxiety, not from cruelty dressed up as mystery. You're not disappearing, you're living. You're full. And that fullness creates natural, honest, non-manufactured unpredictability. The difference between a man who games a woman and a man who genuinely has a life is this. One is performing absence. The other is actually present somewhere else. Be the second man. Because here's what I want you to understand now. You've just walked through 7 of the most powerful attraction dynamics in male-female psychology. Not 7 tricks, not 7 lines, 7 ways of being. You've just leveled up silently. You now see what 99% of men never will. These are not techniques you apply like a toolkit to the next woman you meet and then abandon when they feel inconvenient. These are orientations, ways of showing up. And when they come from a genuine place, when they're backed by real self-respect, real investment in your own growth, real warmth for the people around you, they're not manipulation at all. They're just you, finally operating at full signal. Think about the man you were at the start of this video, frozen at a moment that was calling for action, replaying a look she gave you, a touch that could have meant something, a laugh that lingered a second too long. That man wasn't broken. He was just operating without information. You have the information now. Your presence, grounded, not performed, is the first thing she feels. Your challenge, warm, playful, not aggressive, is what keeps her paying attention. Your full life, your actual priorities, your actual passions, is what makes your attention feel rare. Your listening, real, recalled, specific, is what makes her feel seen. Your vulnerability, calibrated, honest, offered on your terms, is what makes her trust you. Your touch, intentional, light, respectful, is what builds the biochemical bridge. And your unpredictability, honest, full life rooted, not manufactured, is what keeps her nervous system returning to you. These are real tools, not tricks. Use them with respect and intention. You don't need perfection. You need strategy. You need to wake up in the morning and decide to be the man who shows up this way. In the coffee shop, on the date, in the conversation you've been avoiding. You don't need to reinvent yourself. You just need to stop hiding the best parts of yourself behind anxiety and second guessing. The man who understands desire never has to chase it. Go live it. And remember, the man who understands desire never has to chase it. If you're ready to stop chasing and start becoming the man women genuinely desire, subscribe to The Gentle Mind now. Turn on notifications because the next one will shift your reality again.